comes to the history of golf, you can't take a step without tripping over the name John Daly. The guy's a legend, not just for those monstrous drives that defy physics, but for his larger-than-life personality that's as colorful as his wardrobe. Sure, he's snagged some of the biggest titles in golf, the kind that most players can only dream about. But let's be real, Daly's just as famous, if not more, for his wild addictions and some seriously questionable life choices. Today, we're exploring Daly's life, pulling out some of the craziest moments, whether they happened on the golf course or in the chows of gambling bars. And trust me, you haven't seen anything like it. This is a guy who's not even 60 yet. But to cover his life, you'd need a good 100 years. Luckily, we've packed it all into 10 minutes, so hitting that subscribe button wouldn't hurt, right? Until now, you might not be the biggest believer in luck, because hard work usually takes the crown. But every now and then, luck sneaks in and catapults someone to insane heights. And let me tell you, that's exactly what happened with John Daly. Now, this guy, born in 1966, was swinging a golf club almost before he could walk, starting at the tender age of 4. Kicked off with a last-minute entry into the 1991 PGA Championship. Honestly, Daly wasn't even supposed to be there. He wasn't the first backup option, not even the second. He was 9th on the list. Yeah, you heard that right, 9th. But fate, with its wild sense of humor, had other plans. When 8 other players bailed, Daly did what any self-respecting underdog would do. He packed up, drove all night, and showed up at Crooked Stick Golf Club like he owned the place. No practice rounds, no time to prep, just raw guts and pure determination. Daly hit that course with a mentality that was as bold as it was reckless. Grip it and rip it. And let's be clear, this wasn't just some catchy motto to slap on a t-shirt. It was his entire philosophy on the game. While the other golfers were out there with their calculators, measuring every shot down to the last millimeter, Daly was just smashing the ball like it owed him money. The golf world had no idea what to make of Daly. He wasn't the clean-cut, polo-wearing golfer they were used to. He was the most raw, unfiltered, and unapologetically himself. The press labeled him Wild Thing, and just like that, he was a household name. And sure, in the years that followed, Daly's life and career would become a roller coaster of highs and lows, triumphs and scandals. But it was that 1991 PGA Championship that kicked it all off. That was the moment when golf's ultimate underdog stepped out from the shadows and into the blinding spotlight, forever changing the game. So, you know how your graduation was that big, monumental moment where you either crushed it or, well, let's not think about the other option. That's exactly what St. Andrews is like for golfers and fans alike, except with way more plaid pants and a lot less homework. If you conquer St. Andrews, your hype level is through the roof and there's no coming down for its tricky winds, brutal bunkers, and greens that undulate like a roller coaster. It's the kind of place where even the tiniest mistake can send your ball into a bunker so deep you might as well bring a shovel. The history here is thick. Guys like Bobby Jones, Jack Nicklaus, and Seve Ballesteros have all etched their names into the stone. So for Daly, this wasn't just another tournament, it was a shot at eternal glory. But Daly, he doesn't play by the rules, never has, never will. His game is driven by instinct, a little bit of recklessness, and a whole lot of, let's just see what happens. And that's exactly what he did. And then it happened. On July 23, 1995, John Daly hoisted the claret jug, the ultimate prize in golf. Winning at St. Andrews, where the ghosts of golf's greatest hover over every hole, was proof that Daly wasn't just some wild card. He was a bona fide legend. The victory validated his talent and his approach to the game, showing that sometimes being unconventional is exactly what it takes to win big. So, just when you start thinking that John Daly is all about perfect swings and smooth putts, let me go ahead and pop that bubble for you. Because trust me, the guy is more about controversy than you've probably seen in a whole season of reality TV. Case in point, the 1998 Bay Hill Invitational. Now, this tournament has a lot of memorable moments, but none of them come close to the sheer spectacle of Daly's epic meltdown on the par 3 6th hole. This wasn't just a little hiccup. This was the kind of full-blown disaster that golfers have nightmares about, and fans can't stop watching. So it was March 20th, 1998. The 6th hole at Bay Hill is a 201-yard par 3. Not exactly the scariest hole on the PGA Tour, but it does have this pesky little detail: a massive pond right in front of the green. Most golfers take one look at that water hazard and aim straight for the middle of the green, playing it safe to avoid a watery grave. His first shot was a splash, right into the drink. Now, most golfers would take this as a sign from the golf gods to dial it back, maybe play it a little smarter. But John Daly isn't like most golfers. Determined to beat this hole on his own terms, he decides to go for it again. Second shot was the same as the first, another splashdown. At this point, he's lying 3, with 2 penalty strokes already racking up on his scorecard. The crowd, who had been all about Daly a few minutes ago, starts getting a little uneasy. By now, he's lying 5, and the crowd is practically holding their breath. But if there's one thing you should know about Daly, it's that backing down isn't in his DNA. He drops another ball, swings with everything he's got, and splash, again and again. Finally, on his 5th try, he gets the ball onto the green. But by then, the damage is done. He two-putts for a grand total of 12 on that hole, one of the highest scores ever recorded on a par 3 in PGA Tour history. But hey, all this talk has just been about Daly's on-course antics, whether they were epic or disastrous. But did you know there was a time when Daly's personal life was making headlines almost every day? Yep, his gambling habits and alcohol addiction had him plastered all over the front pages, and not in a good way. Let's start with one of the most infamous episodes of Daly's gambling addiction. A night in 2005 that's gone down in Las Vegas lore. Daly, being the high roller he is, decided to take on Sin City. He lost a mind-boggling $1.65 million in a single night at the casino. How? By going all in on high-stakes slot machines and blackjack, throwing down $5,000 a hand like it was Monopoly money. Daly later admitted that over the years, he'd blown through between $50 million and $60 million to gambling. I know, you probably almost had a mini heart attack just thinking about it. Most of us can only dream of seeing that kind of money all at once, and here's this guy just burning through it, like it's nothing. And just when you think it can't get any crazier, let's hop over to October 2008 during the Winston-Salem Open in North Carolina. Daly, fresh off a night of heavy drinking, was found passed out outside a Hooters restaurant. Yes, Hooters, because where else? He was shirtless, unresponsive, and needing the assistance of emergency personnel. The image went viral instantly, cementing Daly's reputation as golf's ultimate rebel. But Daly's antics weren't confined to the casino or the bar. In 1996, after a losing streak at a casino in Memphis, Tennessee, Daly reportedly threw $55,000 in cash out of his car window. The story hit the tabloids like wildfire, painting a picture of a man so deep in the throes of gambling addiction that he was literally throwing money away. It was one of those moments that left people shaking their heads, wondering just how far Daly's erratic behavior could go. And if you thought Daly only saved his wild side for off-course antics, think again. The 1997 Players' Championship at TPC Sawgrass saw Daly visit. This incident was just another notch in Daly's belt of public outbursts, further solidifying his image as a talented but deeply troubled golfer. It was like watching a car crash in slow motion. Daly, already frustrated with his game, completely lost it after a poor shot, tossing his club into a water hazard and storming off the course. He withdrew from the tournament shortly after, admitting later that he had been drinking heavily the night before. It was another incident that had the media buzzing, reinforcing the idea that Daly's personal demons were constantly battling with his professional aspirations, eventually leading to his disqualification. You know, just when you think you've heard it all with John Daly, there's always more. Because let's face it, Daly's life has been one headline after another, and they're so countless, your fingers would cramp trying to keep track. And if you thought his off-course antics were wild, just wait till you dive into his personal life a bit deeper. It's like his luck ran out, not just with the numbers on the slot machines, but also in his love life. We're talking 4 marriages, each ending in a divorce more dramatic and publicized than the last. It's like Daly's personal relationships were a sideshow that kept stealing the spotlight from his golf game, adding layers to his reputation as the sport's ultimate bad boy. Daly's first trip down the aisle was in 1987, when he married Dale Crafton, a model from Arkansas. But this was no fairy tale. The marriage fizzled out by 1990. Daly later chalked it up to the pressures of his skyrocketing golf career, which had him on the road more than at home. Crafton wanted a settled, quiet life, but Daly's whirlwind tour schedule didn't exactly lend itself to cozy nights in, so that union was over almost as quickly as it began. But Daly wasn't done with the marriage game. In 1992, he tied the knot with Betty Fulford. But just after a few months to that, Daly was arrested for allegedly throwing Fulford against a wall during a domestic dispute. The charges were later dropped, but the damage was done, both to Daly's reputation and to the marriage, which unraveled by 1995. And then came marriage number 3 in 1995, right around the time Daly was riding high after winning the Open Championship at St. Andrews. He married Paulette Dean, but this relationship was anything but smooth sailing. The couple's 4 years together were marked by constant arguments and legal battles, with Daly later admitting that the pressures of his golf career were taking a toll. By 1999, the marriage was over. But if you thought that was it, think again. Daly's 4th marriage to Sherry Miller in 2001 peaked in June 2007 when Daly claimed Miller attacked him with a steak knife during a domestic dispute. Daly showed up at a tournament the next day with visible cuts on his face, turning the incident into a media frenzy. Miller was arrested, charged with 3rd-degree assault, and by 2010, the marriage was officially over. And even after all that, we've barely scratched the surface of Daly's wild ride. But hey, I know you've probably reached your limit for crazy stories today, so here's the deal. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button below and give this video a like, because let's be honest, if Daly hasn't impressed you by now, nothing will.